Welcome students. In this video we will discuss about democracy. The chapter is why democracy. So what is democracy? As we all are aware of this term, democracy is a form of government in which the rulers or the administrators, they are elected by the people. By the people, who is included in the people? By the people means the common people, irrespective of their color, creed, religion, wealth and social status, irrespective of their educational status, irrespective of their gender. The common people are involved in the process of democracy. Now, what are the key features of democracy? First and foremost feature is that the rulers, they are elected by the people. How they are elected? They are elected by means of free and competitive elections. Free means they are free from any prejudice or any bias. No discrimination is there. They are free from all sorts of bias. So a free, a fair and competitive elections are held. Then each adult, like I just told here, each adult, irrespective of their religion, education, caste, color, wealth, they have the right to vote, and they have one value and one vote. That is, when they are going to cast, their vote will be counted as one and it will be equally valued for all the people who are casting their vote. So a fair election. Now, who is an adult? In India, a person who has attained the age of 18 years or more is considered an adult, and he is void and he can go and cast his or her vote in the general elections. Also, one more feature, the elected rulers, they take the decisions. Once they get elected, they are free to take decisions, but there are certain restrictions and foundations. They have to take decision within the limits which are set by the constitutional law and as per the citizens' right. There should be no violation of any sort of rights which are being given to the citizens by the constitution. Also, the rule of law prevails. This is very important feature of democracy. What is rule of law? According to the rule of law, every citizen is equal before the eyes of law. That is, he will be treated equal in the eyes of law, whether he is holding a public office or whether he is from the general public. Both will be treated equally. Also, the rights of citizens, they must be protected through constitution. This is ensured through democracy, and this is very important feature. The independent judiciary is also there and it must be there. If it is not there, this is not democracy. So a democracy also involves independent judiciary who can see and who can keep a check on the different organs of the democracy. Also, the major decisions, they are to be taken by the elected leaders. This is one more feature of democracy. Now, we will see to some cases, like in the beginning of chapter we have child General Pinochet, who is actually a dictator. Also in Myanmar we have no such elected democratic government. So we will see some cases of our neighbors, especially in Pakistan. In 1999, General Pervez Musharraf, he led a military coup, and in October 1999 actually he overthrew the democratic elected government, and he himself became the president. When he himself became the president in October 1999, in year 2000, he called for a referendum. Referendum means where the people they can cast their vote directly. So every citizen of Pakistan was to cast a vote whether he is in favor of the Musharraf's government or not. So a referendum was held, and many malpractices and frauds were conducted and they were used in this referendum, and this referendum gave a 5-year extension to General Pervez Musharraf's military government. This 5-year extension was granted by means of referendum. That means it is actually the consent of the common people. Yes, they are very happy and they are in favor of the present regime. So later on in 2002, after the referendum, he passed a law by the name of Legal Framework Order. According to this, the president, that is President General Pervez Musharraf of Pakistan, the president, he was vested with the power to dismiss the national and provincial democracies or assemblies. So if the elections are held, then it will be democratic, but it is not actually democratic. That's why we are studying this case. So he was vested with the power to dissolve or to dismiss the national and provincial assemblies any time, and elections were held for the national and provincial assemblies, but since they can be dissolved at any time by the president, so the real power was within the hands of the officials of army and greatly in the hands of General Pervez Musharraf himself. So general elections were held, and the representatives which got elected, they have some powers, but the final power, it was resting with the military officers and General Musharraf himself. So when the power is concentrated within a hand, within a single hand, this is not democracy. Although the elections were held, but the real powers, they were vested with the president. So this cannot be democracy, because in a democracy the final decision making power, it must rest with those who are elected by the people, that is the elected representatives. But here no such power sharing is seen, or no such exercising of power by the elected representatives is witnessed. That's why this government in Pakistan is not truly democratic, although it is an elected government, but it is not truly democratic. Now we will discuss the case of China. Why we are discussing? See, in the beginning I told the feature that free and competitive elections should be there. So free and fair electoral competition. To understand this point better, we will consider the case of China. In China, elections are held regularly after a term of 5 years, and the parliament is chosen. So the name of the parliament in China is National People's Congress, that is NPC. Before contesting, but there are very different conditions in China. Before, if a person wants to contest the elections, so before contesting election, the candidate needs the approval of Chinese Communist Party only. Like in our country, if a person wants to contest the elections, he or she should be a citizen of India, he or she should be of a minimum age as per prescribed by the election commission. He has to go and file his nomination with the election commission, and once the nomination is approved by the election commission, then he can contest as an independent candidate or from the platform of a political party, as the case may be. But in China it is totally different. Only a single party, that is the Communist Party, Chinese Communist Party. Everyone who wants or who wishes to contest the elections, he has to go for the approval of this party. The government is formed by means of election, the government is formed, but it is only the single party, that is it is always formed by the Communist Party, the Chinese Communist Party only. So how it can be democratic? It is not democratic. Let us consider one more example, Mexico. In Mexico, the elections are held after every 6 years, but not to elect all the representatives, to elect the president. Until 2000, every election was won by PRI, that is the Institutional Revolutionary Party. The opposition parties, they contested, but they never managed to win the election, as some dirty tricks, that is bribery and use of money and power, these type of dirty tricks were used by PRI, that is Institutional Revolutionary Party, to win the elections. So how we can say that the elections, although the elections were held, but they are not fair in this case. And in the previous case, that was in China, the elections were held, but the people, they were left with no choice. Only they have to select from within the members of a single party. And prior to that, in case of Pakistan, the elections were held, the government was framed, but the government was not vested with such powers. So all these cases are showing what the nature of democratic government should be. Now when we study and while going with these three cases, we can say democracy, it must be based on free and fair elections, where those who are currently in power, they have a fair chance of losing, like the case of China. The Communist Party, Chinese Communist Party, is always there in power, so they have no fear of losing. That's why they can frame any policies. So next feature, one person, one vote and one value. For this we will go to different countries, like in Saudi Arabia. One person, one vote and one value means everyone is given opportunity to cast their vote. But in Saudi Arabia, women, they do not have the right to vote in the general elections. Also in Estonia, the citizenship rules are made, but in a way that the people belonging to the Russian minority, they, it becomes very difficult for them to cast their vote, and they should not enjoy the right to vote. So government is there, elections are going on, but one community who is living in the country, who is contributing towards country, towards the development of country, towards the economic sphere of the country, whether in small amounts or in big values, but they are not getting the proper opportunities or equal opportunities. The government is actually discriminating. So this cannot be said कि yes, a democratic government is present or is existing in Estonia. Also we can see Fiji, a small island nation. In Fiji also, the vote of an indigenous Fiji, indigenous, that is the natives, the real natives of Fiji, they are valued more than that of an Indian Fijian. Why? Because in Fiji, some Indians are also living and they have settled there. So these Indian Fijians and the indigenous Fijians, their votes are valued differently. Also we can see the case of Zimbabwe, where the party ZANU PF is present, and Zimbabwe was ruled by ZANU PF since its independence. And Robert Mugabe, who was a popular leader and who was the president of Zimbabwe, he was actually ruling the country. He was a popular ruler, no doubt, but he also used unfair practices in elections to remain in power. So the elections were held, and every time the party of Robert Mugabe, that is ZANU PF, it won the elections. The opposition party leaders, they were there, but they were harassed, and their meetings were disrupted by the government using unfair means. By using the government machinery, Robert Mugabe used to suppress his political opponents. Also, the public protests and demonstrations which are opposing the government, or which are actually showing a sign of retaliation for the government, they are declared illegal by the Robert Mugabe government. Television and radio were direct under the control by government, so they used to show the programs which were always in favor of the government. Like we have in China, the press and the television broadcast all is controlled, is in the direct control of the government. So you can see very few news items are shared, and we cannot come to know about the what is actually happening in China. Like in the case of corona, you can see only a very little information is available. Now, independent newspapers were there, but those journalists who used to write against the government, they were harassed by the government. The government ignored some court judgments also. But in Zimbabwe, courts are also there. So the courts, they gave some judgment against the government, and the government ignored such judgments and went against the judgments of the court. And sometimes the news like this have also been heard that the government has pressurized the judges to give decisions in favor of government, not against the government. No election, no citizen, basic rights, no political opposition, no judiciary was found. So when we talk about democratic government, it should be ruled within the limits which are set by constitution. Like you can see, in case of Fiji, the value of the vote of Indian Fijians, it was less. In case of Estonia, you can see the case is different. In case of Zimbabwe, you can see the case is different. So whenever we talk about democratic government, it should be a rule within limits set by the constitution and the laws which are mentioned in the constitution, and the citizens' rights should be abided by the democratic government. That is, no such violation of citizens' rights should be there. So this is what we have by means of different examples, taking quotes and examples of different countries. We have tried to tell what exactly should be there in a democratic government. Now we will see some arguments in favor and against democracy. So why we should go for democracy, or why we should not go for democracy? So first of all, we will see what are the arguments which go against democracy. In a democracy, since elections are an important part of democratic process, so in the elections there are chances that the leaders, they may not get repeated. So the very first argument which is given against democracy is that the leaders, they keep on changing, and this leads to instability, especially the political instability. Also, democracy is all about political competition and power play. So we always discuss and we always talk about the competitive elections, fair elections, free elections, that is, everyone should participate in the election. But we are not talking about morality. Morality is left somewhere behind. So democratic government is all about political competition and power play, but there is no such talking about morality, and there is no such scope for morality. Next we have there are democracy, so many people, they have to be consulted for decision making purposes, and since so many people are involved, that's why sometimes this leads to delays in the works and decision making also. In democracy, the elected leaders are there, the people are, they choose and they elect their representatives, but it is also a possibility that these elected representatives or the elected leaders might be they do not know about best interest of people, and sometimes this ignorance or not knowing of the best interest of people leads to bad decisions by the elected leaders or the parliamentarians, especially in countries, big countries like India. Next we have democratic government. It also leads to corruption. Why? Because it in democracy election is there, so it is basically, it gets transformed into electoral politics with the passage of time, when the people they come to know about the powers which are vested when they get elected, so they start getting indulged in electoral politics rather than democratic politics. That's why it leads to corruption, and ordinary people or the common people, sometimes they don't know what is good or what is bad for them. So they should not decide anything, but in democracy the people they get a choice to decide. So that's why this argument goes against democracy, that the common people, they don't know what is good for them, so they should not be given the power to decide anything. Now we will see some arguments in favor of democracy. First, as we have discussed throughout the video, that democracy is accountable form of government. So this is very first argument in favor of democracy, that democracy is a better government as it is more accountable form of government. The decision making quality gets improved in democracy. How? See, decision making means many people are consulted, what we have discussed as an argument against democracy, but at the same time, like we have two faces of coin, this also leads to improvement and in quality of decision making. Also, the different methods to deal with differences and conflicts, they are available in democracy. Otherwise, when we see other forms of government, no such methods are there. Also the dignity, because it is the citizen or the common people or the ordinary people who are a part of democratic process, how they are actually participating in the general elections. So the citizens who are the pillars of democracy, they should be given dignity, they should be kept at prior position. So this dignity of the citizen or the common man is maintained and it is enhanced from time to time only in this form of government, that is democracy. That's why democracy is favored by the common people. Also, it is the only form of government which allows us to correct our own mistakes. Like next time when we see that the elected representative is not working properly, we can remove him or we can not get him elected in the coming general elections. So we have a chance to rectify or to correct our previous mistake. Now we will see some broader meanings of democracy. See, democracy is of two types. One is representative democracy and second is direct democracy. In representative democracy, we govern ourselves, but we represent ourselves, and it is our elected representatives that sit together at a place and frame policies, and this is how we are governed. So by means of general elections, the representative democracy is formed. Second form of democracy is the direct democracy, in which the people, they participate directly in the decision making process, and that is done through referendums. Referendum means on basic issues or on potential issues, the common people, they cast their vote, like we discussed in case of Pakistan in 2002, when Parvez Musharraf, General Parvez Musharraf, he made a referendum, and the people, they casted their vote in the referendum, and that's why Parvez Musharraf got extension for 5 years to be working as president of Pakistan. So referendum is there, and public opinion and referendum, they are the foremost tools in case of direct democracy. Also, when we see democracy, democracy in democracy, the democratic decisions, they involve consultation with and consultation consent of all those who are going to be affected by that particular decision. So in short, it can be said that democracy is a form of government, or is a system of government which can be applied to any sphere of life. Also, it can apply to a government or a family or any other organization. So democracy is very important in today's changing world, where the societies, it keeps on changing, the scenario, they keep on changing, or you can say the world is getting dynamic. That's all in this video. The chapter is complete. With the next chapters, I will be there in the next coming videos. Thank you. Have a nice day.